Thanks, Bill. The Obama administration's latest plan to bail out Citigroup would give the government more than 1/3 of the company's common stock. Well, joining us now is Congressman Brad Sherman from the Financial Services Committee. And thank you very much for being with us. You know, today we had sort of a triple whammy. We had the nation's GDP fell at an annual rate of 6.2%. That's the sharpest in 26 years. We had the Citigroup news that the government's taking a huge chunk, 36% of the troubled bank. And also the Dow fell, sort of triple whammy. What do you make of this whole situation in the markets and with the financial, the banks particularly, sir?
Well, I think we're still in for some tough times. We've got to get the economy rolling, and at the same time, when we transfer taxpayer money to any private entity, we've got to make sure that we're getting good value and that we're not subsidizing Wall Street or anyone else. What we've seen is the initial investments made by Secretary Paulson, where he invested $252 billion in Wall Street. We ended up with securities that were worth $78 billion less than what we paid for them. You know, and now that's being illustrated by the latest add-on transaction.
Should the government continue to bail out banks? Some say it's like survival of the fattest. They're too big to fail. We continue to pour money into them. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts are that some of them may be very big, but fail is not the same thing as a bankruptcy reorganization. These banks can go into bankruptcy, shed their shareholders, shed or reduce the amount they owe to their bondholders, and come back out much stronger institutions, perhaps at that point with a federal injection of capital. What I don't want to see is the federal government, the taxpayer, turning to all the bondholders of these institutions and saying, you never had U.S. insurance for your bond, but we're going to provide it for you anyway. The only people that deserve federal insurance with the banks are the FDIC insured deposits. And that's not the multi-billion-dollar bondholders. That's limited to $250,000 per depositor.
Congressman Sherman, I understand you're a CPA, and it definitely shows in this discussion. You know, if Citigroup fails the government's stress test for future aid, what really should happen to it, in your opinion?
I think that if a bank fails the stress test, there ought to be a reduction in what's going to be paid to the bondholders so as to make the institution more viable. We shouldn't be saying, well, this bank doesn't have enough capital to pay the bondholders, so we got to make sure the bondholders get paid in full, so we got to give them taxpayer money. Capitalism is a system in which you share risks and rewards, and those who have FDIC insured deposits, they paid for their federal insurance. They deserve their federal insurance. They're the only ones who should have federal insurance.
Okay, thank you very much, Representative Brad Sherman. Thank you very much for your insight into this.